We got to touch on Thor, man. We've got to touch on his deadlift. You know, we spoke about it
Yeah,
last time. It's a bit belated now, but 501. Do you think he did it? There's question marks.
it is. Um, I'd like to think he did.
Yeah.
I'd like to think he did. I suspect that he did do it. I suspect he did do it. I mean, if I look at the weights he was pulling a couple of years ago, and we look at his age, how old is he? Is he mid-20s, late?
I thought he was
30?
close to 30. Yeah. I thought he was like
He might
29,
be.
30
Either
now,
way,
yeah. But that's peak.
either way, yeah. I mean, either way, he's young. He's still in that age where your growth hormones are freaking pumping out left, right, and centre, and you're getting stronger by the minute. He was a monster 2 years ago, pulling 460s, 470s for 1 or 2 reps in competition. I think if he put all his energy focused into doing the deadlifts, I'm not sure if Eddie Hall did. I don't think Eddie Hall said, look, the road to a 500 kilo deadlift. I think he just trained as he would. And then went into competition and just pulled it because that was his exercise.
Yeah.
But I think if Eddie Hall just said, you know what, I'm going to go on a road to 520, you know, and put a year into just doing that, he probably would have done it. So I think, you know, I think putting all his energy into that, given where he was at and the genetics, the assistance that he's taking and all the rest of it, I'd say he probably did do it. But I also agree with Eddie Hall's counter-attack, which is, you know what, mate, it's all well and good doing it surrounded by your yes men in your own environment, but doing it in competition is a very different kettle of fish. There's all different strains, mentally, physically. So you know what, he should do it in competition. That said, he's not going to go against Eddie Hall now because Eddie's lost the weight that would allow him to lift that weight.
Yeah.
He'd have to take it ready for it.
And so will Thor as well because of the boxing. But you made a really good point. You said that he put on something. He put on a lot of weight before this lift, and we all know that when you get heavier, it's easier to lift. It's way easier to lift. So, but in terms of the boxing, you know, you mentioned yes men. That really worries me when it comes to Thor because I think boxing isn't a neither's strongman, but I don't think boxing is a sport where you can have yes men. You know, someone that tells you you're good when you're not, because that's when you get hurt. You know, you could step in there and everyone's like, oh yeah, they're telling me that I'm the best boxer he's ever seen. And it's like, buddy, you're going to get hit. You're going to get hit hard by a man that even if he tickles you, he could knock you out, you know? So how do you think the fight's going to go? I worry about that yes man camp of Thor's. I just think that's trouble. You know, all these guys around him telling him he's great. Like, oh, that's worrying. I'd rather somebody tell me like, your left hand's dropping, you're going to get caught, you're going to get knocked out, watch out. But I think he's going to get told, you're great, you're the best, you're the big guy, you know. I say Eddie Hall wins that because of his background as well.
Well, I mean, we all love Rocky, right?
Yeah.
If we don't love Rocky, we have to examine ourselves. What's a freaking film? Okay. I believe when the great man Apollo Creed got beaten by Ivan Drago, he was surrounded by yes men. We've all seen the famous montage where Rocky's training, and he's training in the dirt, he's training in the grit. He's got, you're going to eat lightning and crap thunder. You know, you're going to be greasy fast. Mickey's got him freaking chasing chickens and shit like that to get freaking fit. Whereas Apollo's got like his yes men, he's doing all his shows and he's got his hat on and he's got him soft. And yes men freaking killed him. And then, you know, had it not been for that, you know, he might have done all right. He might have, you know, stood a good chance with Drago, and we all know how that one ends. But yeah, so it's almost a mirroring of that. But the reason I actually said the yes men thing about Thor is because I don't believe everything I see on YouTube, right? But I saw a whole thing about how Eddie and Thor had fallen out. And it was very much around the World's Strongest Man. It might have been 2018, 2017, the year that Eddie won. I think it was 2018, actually. I might be wrong. And you see it. So Eddie goes to shake Thor's hand after he's just won, and Thor's, I think, comes second, and Thor just whacks his hand away. I don't want to know.
Yeah, I did really see that, yeah.
You know, and you watch the whole video, and it shows the training and this, that, the other. And every single decision the judges made, he was attesting it. He was saying, no. And his yes men were trying to bully the judges into saying, no, you got that lift. And it all seemed very unsportsmanly. Now, I know there's always two sides to every story, but he had a big old crew following him around and literally, you know, wiping his face and this, that, the other. And it just, Yeah, I think if he's got that getting ready for this fight, you know, he needs to go into that dark place. And Eddie Hall said this. He said in his video, he said, I'm going to go there. I'm going to go in that dark, nasty, horrible place. And he said, you know what? I'm going to be there, Thor, and you need to come meet me there. And if Eddie does, and he goes into a nasty old gym in Stoke-on-Trent, if he's still there, you know, gets amongst it with the tough northern bastards, you know, gets himself the northern answer to Mickey, then he's going to eat lightning and shit thunder.
I just see a real problem, like you said, with those yes men. I just think I've seen a few interviews where, you know, it's almost too biased. You know, in football or sports, when somebody makes a point and you're like, you can't really believe that, and they're like, yeah, and they make, like, when people say Alex Ferguson was a bad manager, you know, you're like, you just hate Man United. You can't make that point. I see that with Thor. Like, they'll say, oh, what do you think about Eddie Hall's fight? This was before he did his 501. It was, what do you think about Eddie Hall's 500 kg deadlift? And the guys around him would be like, I want to go first on this. I've got a few complaints with this. And I was like, okay, what are these complaints? And it was like he was using his own bar from home, you know, and it was real stupid points. And I was like, you know, the judges let him do weaker lifts. It was just like some stupid shit where you're like, that doesn't even make sense, you know, especially the bar. You're like, well, is it the same weight? Yes. Then what's the problem? Like, does it have superior grips, like kind of, you know, the cage grips that you can use for deadlift sometimes? Like, did it have one of those? No. It was like, well, what's the point? Like, what's the problem? And they were just making these stupid points, and it was like they're kissing his ass 24/7. They're just telling him he's the best. They're trying to make shit up to frame it, and you just think boxing's the wrong sport to be doing that in. Because as soon as you step in there with somebody who actually knows, like if Eddie dedicates as much as he did to, let's say, swimming, which he's also a superstar at, you know, which is a similar kind of cardio-based sport, he's going to hurt him. He's going to hit him very fucking hard. He's going to hurt him. And I just don't see Eddie Hall quitting. I just don't think he's got any quit in him. And I think Thor's going to have that rude awakening where it's like, you know those guys that grew up where they didn't get beat by their mums and dads. You know, they didn't ever get told off. Maybe they didn't have a dad around. Maybe they didn't have an older brother. And they kind of walk around going, don't fight me when I get angry. And you're like, shut up. Shut up. You know, because when you get hit and you get that sting and you hear that ring and your whole brain's just going and it's all rattled, you know, you get that question in your mind, which is, do I run? Do I stay? Should I fight back? Should I give up? Should I cower? And I just don't think Thor's ever had one of those moments in his life. I think he's always been the big guy. Everyone's always like sucked his dick metaphorically. I just think it's a big problem. I could be wrong. Like, he doesn't seem like a bad guy, but you know, I think there's going to be a problem.
Am I right in thinking that Eddie Hall used to work as a doorman as well? Isn't that something he did at one point?
Yeah, he did. And he grew up in Stoke. You know, you're seeing some shit when you grow up in Stoke. As tough as Iceland is, I feel like they're nice people. Stoke, you know, it's nasty. It's a nasty place. You can get a slap for just saying the wrong word. Do you know what I mean? It's very old school.
I think going back to, again, I love chucking all these sayings out, but everyone's got a plan until they get hit.
Yeah.
I can't remember who said that. It might be Muhammad Ali or someone, but it's a great thing about boxing. It might be Tyson, so everyone's got a plan until they get hit, and I think that's it. He can have a plan, and he can be in training, he can be doing all the right stuff, but you're right. If he's not willing to emotionally be toughening himself up, if he's not willing to get the wax enough in training, if he's not willing to get beat the crap down, then he's not going to be calloused. You know, he needs to basically, David Goggins again says, callous your mind. Yeah. Because he went through some really tough crap. You know, he endured some insane stuff with the Navy SEALs, but he calloused his mind, which meant if his mind was there, his body was as strong, then there's no stopping him. And I think, you know what? I think Eddie Hall, his lifestyle has already calloused his mind. I think he's been through the freaking valley, you know?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.